Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this webinar that has been oversubscribed and for good reason. Today I'm interviewing Jarvis Archer, who I'll introduce formally in a few minutes. Jarvis is a manager at Pearson Hears Insolvency. So he's a liquidator and consultant there with an impressive career track record if you check out his LinkedIn profile. And today we're talking about how Pearson Hears, a three-partner firm, is generating leads and building its digital presence with modern marketing. Now, if you've not met me before, my name's MC Carter. I'm the founder of Practice Paradox, and we're specialists in digital marketing for accounting and advisory firms. We were the pioneers globally in digital marketing for accountants, and we're the leaders in that field working with firms all around the world. And we do things a little differently, which you'll learn about today. So throughout the interview today, as a framework, I'll be sharing with you the Marketing Machine 2.0 for accountants and advisors. So it's our latest version of it that we evolve as technology and methodologies evolve themselves. And for registering today, you get a high resolution PDF of this that you can put on your wall. But first, to take a quick step back to explain something that's really important to understand if you don't want to waste time, money, and energy with your marketing, is three essentials for effective marketing for an accounting firm, an advisory firm, and frankly, any business. I founded Paradox almost 9 years ago now. When I was at Business Fitness, I was one of the co-founders there. And I noticed that very, very few firms, be lucky if it was 1 in 100 firms, understood marketing. And one of the reasons for that is you're in such a solid business model with clients who keep coming back year after year, that for many, marketing was seen as some sort of optional extra or unnecessary evil, perhaps. But times have changed. And we started Paradox because we could see that firms were struggling with marketing and being burnt. So here are the three things that you need to have in place. Number one, you need marketing structure. Number two, you need marketing strategy. And number three, you need marketing support. People are sometimes a little surprised to think or to see that I haven't got strategy up there first. But your strategy can evolve and be formulated within a structure. It's a bit like if you're playing a sport. Super Bowl just happened this week over in the States there. And that's a game of strategy. But you can't have a good strategy if you don't understand the rules of the game, if you don't understand the structure of the game that you're playing. So structure comes first, because without structure, you'll have no predictability with your marketing. It will seem to have no rhyme or reason, no cause or effect. And you'll bounce around. You know, you'll go to some conference where a social media expert's talking about something, and then some of your team members dive headlong into Twitter or some social media for a while and then lose momentum. Or you go to another presentation at a conference and someone's talking about a new app or some marketing automation, and you start in that and then you lose traction and momentum. So you want structure to maintain the predictability. But then without a strong strategy, there is no point to your marketing. There's no point using social media, doing blogging, all the different types of content-driven marketing that there is now, if it's not based on solid strategy. And we teach 7 rocks, we call them, of strategy, that once you get them right, marketing becomes a lot easier. And lastly, if you don't have that marketing support, if you've just got the structure and strategy, you'll lack that consistency. You'll intend to do certain things monthly that might not happen every month. It might become once in a blue moon. So within those context of those 3 things that will give you effective marketing, this is why today and why all of our advice revolves around this model, Marketing Machine 2.0. The top 5 icons there of strategy, presence, publish, attract, and convert are all a separate series of tasks and activities, things to implement in your business. And we'll touch on these within the case study interview today with Jarvis from Pearson Hears. But the goal of the top 5 is to create a database of very specific prospects, your ideal prospective clients. And you can grow a database that's 10, 20, 30 times larger than your client base when you do effective digital marketing. Every day of the week, your marketing database should grow if you've got these things in place. Then that feeds into the bottom 5 icons, which flow in the other direction of automate, nurture, invite, sell, and onboard. And that results in you building a client base that is very specific, where you're designing the precise types of clients you want to attract. And that's one of the beauties of digital marketing, is you actually have more control over the quality of growth than through referrals. True story. Won't delve into that anymore now, but the main reason is you have far more control over the messages and what's communicated through your own marketing machine, your own digital marketing content, than what one of your clients might actually say to someone else. Keep this in mind. You can have parts of a marketing machine in place, but like a machine, or I'll keep it simpler, like a chain, it only takes one link in a chain for the entire chain to be broken. And if you're missing, for example, the convert part, you might have a great website that gets lots of traffic, but it might not be converting the traffic. You lose. You certainly don't get the results you could otherwise. So that's a very quick framework. We run masterclasses based on this, and our implementer platform is based on it too. But let's get into having a chat with Jarvis Archer from Pearson Hears. Good morning, Jarvis.
Hey, MC, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's incredibly generous of you to share your time with everyone.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me along.
Now, sorry, you go.
I hope there's some value today.
There definitely will be, because I think one of the reasons we've had such a huge response to today's webinar is people don't want to hear theory. They want to hear, what are their peers and colleagues in the industry actually doing. So we'll share examples today. So in chatting, Jarvis, before you started working with Paradox as a member of ours, you tried certain things. You've been implementing Google AdWords. You tried another marketing content provider. You came across us by noticing what another firm in your space was doing. And then you kind of joined a few dots. You came along to a masterclass, and you've been using our services now for a couple of years.
That's right.
Talk us through that journey for you.
So I guess just before I duck into that, it's probably worth just giving some context to our business, which is slightly different to, I guess, general accounting firms out there. And I guess all accounting firms differ a little bit in how they work as well. But as a traditionally an insolvency business that's evolved into more of a debt advisory, restructuring, helping people actually avoid bankruptcy and liquidation, we get our work from individuals and companies who come to us with outstanding tax debts, SGC, other debts, or they're just unquestionably insolvent and can't pay wages this week, but would like us to rescue their business. So our model differs a little bit to general accountants in that we don't have a lot of repeat business from our clients, hopefully. We need a lot of new clients in that funnel. Traditionally, our works come from accounting and lawyer referrals, but with every business these days, there's a transition to online. And it's amazing actually how many businesses who have an accountant or a lawyer go and find a stranger online to take over sort of the most important part in their business's life, really. So what we need to do with our business is cast a net to catch those people online, but also help to build our relationships and maintain those relationships with accountants and lawyers that still send us their clients who need our help, and also work on developing that to help accountants and lawyers better help their clients to avoid liquidation and bankruptcy, because really at the end of the day, nothing really good comes from it. So just getting in there, I guess, to your slide about our digital story. Yeah, you're right there. We had a website. It sat around for a while, like everyone's did in the 2000s. Had a few inquiries. Around 2012, we managed our own AdWords campaign, and that was okay. It worked reasonably well for the time, but it got very competitive and much more complicated to manage yourself with all the SEO and AdWords businesses that were setting up. And I mean, everyone watching today probably has the cold calls from those businesses and has had for the last sort of 5 years, selling you the world. So we tried someone for our AdWords management and it just didn't really work. So around that time, we thought we'd try content marketing, some provider who, it was a cold call, but we liked what they offered. We gave them a go, and we said we just stopped our AdWords campaign and started what that content provider has said is, we'll write the articles, we'll do it all for you. It'll magically happen. And we thought, well, we have a technical role as a lot of the viewers would have with accounting stuff. So I thought, well, how can sort of general marketers write articles that are going to be what we want to say? Anyway, turns out that we should have trusted our concerns, because what was supposed to be they write, we edit, and turned into us really rewriting articles and being very frustrating with the process. We were in a 6-month lock-in contract. By the time that was up, we'd somehow come across you, and we'd also seen this other insolvency firm who's one of your clients, joined the dots and went, well, we want to be a Paradox client and give that a go. So Masterclass back in 2016 was our sort of first introduction with you before we actually got started. And the marketing machine was the topic of that Masterclass. And that was great for us, because look, as accountants, we love structure and framework and systems that work, I think. And so with your marketing machine model, it takes, well, marketing sort of seems overwhelming to a lot of us that haven't really done a lot of it in the past. And it takes it from being this all-encompassing sort of cloud of marketing to go, okay, right, we can focus on that thing, and it actually flows in a cycle. And you realize that you already do bits and pieces that fall into everything. So then what you can do is identify your strengths and your weaknesses in that model and start focusing on building out the complete system. And that's what I guess we've been doing over the last 2 years, maybe focusing on specific areas more than others. And your implementer platform that I think you introduced last year, and then the Modern Marketing Academy videos that you have as well as a Paradox client, really supported that in helping me understand how digital marketing works. And then the implementer platform, I guess, has helped us really, I can delegate specific tasks so that my staff can practically work through all the things that a good online business does.
So you've experienced what we alluded to before, that lack of structure. Things might have seemed a bit piecemeal, a bit of AdWords here, a bit of content over here, which is common, which is why we exist. And the other thing is dealing with people to help you in marketing that are not specialists in the profession. They're not in tune with creating content that really is going to be an authentic voice, if you like, for you as professional advisors. So
that's right.
You're supported by our copywriters who every day of the week are writing articles for accountants of different flavors and business advisors around the world.
That's right.
So let's now talk about on the strategy side. So speaking to everyone now, what we're going to do is touch on a number of those elements of the Marketing Machine 2.0 model, starting with strategy. So within there, we've talked about the implementer platform and the fact that you came along the Masterclass. And you're also not just active in our Facebook group, but you're really generous in there. You're always helping others out. So what would you say to firms that might be, say, floundering or just unclear with their strategy moving forward based on what you know now?
Sure. So I guess I like a lot of your clients. It's key to make the point that we're no different from every other firm out there. And when I say strategy, it's still the case. I say strategy, and some of my partners who are only in their 40s, they just crack up laughing. So the strategy still, it's still a kind of novel concept for a lot of people. And I guess in the work I do, I try to demystify that for small businesses. I mean, just getting them to understand break-even point, gross margin, net margin. All of a sudden, they at least understand a couple of key indicators of their business. So I think the key is don't get worried about having a whole corporate strategy. Just focus on what you can do and work out what you're going to do and do it. Because it's a bit like Patabi Joyce, who's the sort of father of Ashtanga yoga, which I do. He says it's 99% practice, 1% theory. And so not to discount what you do at all, because what you do is very important. But
hear
really, you just got to get stuck in and do it for it to work, and not get
there's
bogged
some
down by your ideas.
There's some really good points in there, because with strategies, a large firm came to us recently and asked us to put together a marketing plan. And I said, okay, why do you want a marketing plan? Oh, so we've got a clear strategy. And I asked, when did you last review this document? They sent me a copy of it, and it was a couple of years ago. And I said, how much did you spend on consultants putting together this marketing plan? They told me it was between $10,000 and $20,000. And I said, what benefit did you get from that plan? They said, well, very little really in hindsight, which is why we're talking to you. And I said, that's why you need to take an agile approach to your strategy. Get clear in a simple way. So that's why, under that strategy icon, we've got decide and focus. So don't turn into a project. You need a framework of who do you want to attract? What services do you want to provide and not provide? That's crucial to get that balance. And how do you want to be perceived and positioned? And once those 7 rocks are in place, then it's a whole lot easier to sit down and think about what keyword phrases you should be targeting in Google, or therefore what articles should you be creating for your blogs and in the social media. But strategy is actually not difficult. It's just a handful of key decisions that the leaders within a firm need to agree on.
That's right. So I guess rather than it be a business plan or a bulk of paper that no one reads, I guess our strategy was we want to capture the online market. I mean, somewhat bafflingly, probably one of the biggest online competitors in that space is a former bankrupt of ours. We taught them everything they know, and then they set up in competition. They had 300, I think in 2010, they set up 320 websites around Australia, bankruptcy Brisbane, bankruptcy Gold Coast, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, that model works for them. And some recent statistics showed that actually insolvency, it's been a tough market, which maybe that's good for everyone else. Maybe it's just tough for business generally. But some recent statistics show that the firms that are actually growing in this space, one of them, one of your clients has done really well over the last 5 years to just keep growing and growing. And then sort of 2 or 3 other ones that have dominant online brands and presences, they're growing. And so where everyone's sitting around going, oh, gee, it's so tough, it's just cyclical. Those guys aren't having that discussion. Their biggest problem is, what do we do with all the money we're making? So it's a nice problem to have.
Yeah, whenever I hear people say, oh, but it's hard in insert country, region, state, town, industry, we always know others who are excelling in those exact same conditions. It's a big marketplace. I know Jerry Harvey, I once heard him interviewed, and one of his things is in a recession, you actually go harder on the marketing because everyone else cuts back.
Exactly.
So that's one of the fundamental tenets of strategy, is to be, counterintuitive. You don't compete head on. So before, when you're doing the Google AdWords, if everyone's also doing it, that's driving up the prices. So that's competing head on. Whereas with this style of strategic content marketing, you're outflanking your competition because you're targeting phrases to rank well for, which we'll come to everyone shortly in Google, that they might not even be thinking about. So let's talk about digital presence. So that's a phrase we've used a few times today already. So digital presence, yes, it encompasses having a brilliant website. And we all know that high growth, award-winning firms, you check them out, you Google them, and you generally go, wow, how did they get such a great website? But presence is not about websites. If anyone thinks, if only we just get that new website live, the leads are going to come flowing in. Look, your website's just one part of one component of your marketing machine. It's important, but there's also your Google My Business, your social media platforms, and so on. But in this space, over the last year, you've done your new website, you've clarified your value proposition, and to explain to everyone, that's the concise articulation, like a headline, very brief, of the value that you deliver to your target market. You've implemented live chat on the website to make it sort of easier for end clients, so the business owners and individuals, to contact and ask questions with anonymity. And tell us how that's been going. While you do that, I'll just bring up the picture of your website.
Sure. So just trying to think how what we actually do in our everyday fits into presence. So I guess to target that online model, we set up another brand a couple of years ago called Cactus Consulting. when everyone thinks of insolvency, they don't think of the doctor. They think of that's the last resort. And so as a way of trying to overcome that initial resistance, Cactus Consulting is a brand more focused on really helping sort out those tough problems that people have and SMEs have, who they're really, I guess, people problems with consumer debt and with small business debt, as opposed to Pearson His is a more of a restructuring, lots at stake insolvency business. And so within that, so we've really focused on trying to generate online traffic, and we've used content marketing to do that through writing articles with you for, I guess, just over 12 months now. And then the website revamp has been really good. I guess it improved the authority there, which I think we speak about later. But it just helps your brand and I guess gives the impression that you want. I don't think that the website's the be all and end all, as you mentioned. It's not just a place to, I guess I see it now as more a tool for getting people, well, you want to get people there and then you want them to get in contact with you or become a client. And so I really see it as a tool for content delivery now, and almost see the articles we write as just as important, or if not more important, because no one would be going to the website without the content. So
yeah, exactly.
You can have the best website in the world, but if no one sees it, what's the point?
It's ironic how much time people spend in a website project laboring over the homepage, which is important. But when you blog well, you'll get more traffic, more people coming to your site through specific blog posts that they've either searched to discover or they've seen promoted in social media or in other ways. But in terms of first impressions of the digital presence, first impressions are made in a nanosecond. Been books written about the fact that one called Blink, that the part of the brain that makes judgments on certain things doesn't even have a verbal function. So there's very quick impressions made. So design's really important. And even if someone is referred to you these days, everyone will, before they pick up the phone, most likely will Google and then just check you out before they call you. So you're ticking the boxes here on your website. This is beautifully mobile responsive as well. So it works well on smartphones and tablets and normal computers. And as I was scrolling before, people may have noticed, some of the nice subtle animations that were happening there. So I think it's really important that if you want to be a modern advisor, your first impressions have to say, we're modern, we're up to date, which this style of firm does. And by the way, everyone, we ourselves at Paradox, we don't do websites. We've got an inner circle of what we call preferred partners who are excellent at design and build of websites and excellent at the content, the copywriting. I can guarantee you that if you go to a cookie cutter website for accountants provider, there's a reason that they can do what they do for their price, and it's called templates, and they won't perform nearly as well as a custom designed site. So that's one of I think the take home points for everyone there is invest in having a good website that looks great and modern, but it's just one element. You've then got to consistently be publishing specific content on specific things to your blog. I remember the first time I talked about blogging, I got attacked at a conference by website providers going, what the hell does an accounting firm need a blog for? I said, well, just watch this space. And that was about 10 years ago at the Accountants Technology Showcase. So here on your site, that's on the homepage where it's showing you 3 most recent blog posts there. And so your target market, Jarvis, it's twofold. It's primarily with the accountants who you have those long-term relationships with, but occasionally you'll get people that are on the brink of insolvency themselves come direct to you. So tell us about that chat tool that you've been using.
Sure. So just to highlight that point, I guess having 2 brands, it's been a little bit tricky to work out how to separate them because there is some overlap. I mean, we're essentially the same people doing that work, and I guess the Cactus Consulting brand is just to differentiate ourselves from a little bit from other insolvency firms to say, hey guys, we actually do all this stuff, and try and get them to read past the insolvency word and turn around. So Um, sorry, what was your question?
Oh, you implemented OLARC, and I
Sorry,
remember in the Facebook group you were, very happy with how
yeah,
well that
live
was
chat.
helping. So just explain to everyone what it is, why you implemented, and what's been happening on your site with the live.
Sure. So, I mean, we'll talk about it in the next marketing machine section, but we have really increased our traffic with the blogging that we've been doing. Surprisingly, what your theory actually works, and that's good to see. And so we're getting people coming, but our call to action was give us a call or send us an email, which I think a lot of people struggle with for whatever reason, and I don't know if other businesses have the same trouble, but certainly people are a bit embarrassed. There's a lot of fear around financial difficulty. There's a lot of personal and business and pride elements that they're considering. And so anyway, we gave OLARC a go. I think you guys may have previously used that, and it's very cheap. And all of a sudden, people started chatting with us. And I have it on my phone, and so I might be out, or I might be at work, or it might be after hours, which I'm okay with because we're in a growth stage of our business. So people get in touch. I guess it's more convenient for them, and it's also anonymous, so that they don't have to feel embarrassed or judged. They feel like they can have a private conversation. And what often happens with that is, okay, some questions, they're just a query, and that's fine. I'll never hear from them again. That's okay. They're short. And others, they're actually major business issues, or they've got a statutory demand from the ATO. I think an accountant contacted me through live chat and said his firm had actually received a stat demand for his ATO debt. So, it's amazing what people who's online looking for help. And I remember watching one of the Modern Marketing Academy videos, which talked about that gradient, the contacting, and I thought, oh, that's exactly right, because we've tried cold calling, we try to build our relationships with accountants and new accountants, but it's very hard to have that get past the gatekeeper if you've got a good one in particular. So the gradient that was an important concept to me, and what ended up being the case is a lot more people have got in touch with us after implementing the live chat window, and you build that initial trust to realize, hey, actually, this is a real person, and they know what they're talking about. And then I say, well, look, let's have a call, and that's what we do. And so the relationship develops from there.
So allows them to put a toe in the water that's a lot less daunting psychologically for them than contact us, or
that's right,
free consultation. So everyone out there listening now, whether live or in the recording later on our YouTube channel and on our blog, if your primary calls to action, so the buttons, the main things you're asking people to do on your website is call us, contact us, complimentary consultation, that's quite high gradient and is likely to have much lower conversion than other things such as live chat, downloading of lead magnets, etc. So this topic relates to conversion as well that we'll come to, but we just want to touch on that presence here, the fact that you make it really easy for people to go, wow, they're professional, they're modern, they're accessible, they're responsive. So first impressions that prospects make right at the start of the conveyor belt, as we call it, of influence, commonly called a funnel, is you don't lose them right at the start. The last point here that I've just brought up is domain authority is something everyone that Google assesses you on about how credible you are as an online entity. And the higher it is, the more traffic you get, because the higher your Google rankings are compared to someone else whose website has a lower domain authority. And this is one of the many metrics that in our implementer platform we report to firms on. And Jarvis, yours has grown over time from 9 to 16. It's almost doubled. So that has a huge effect on your traffic.
Yeah. Well, I'll just talk to that. So I guess I first became aware of that and some of the inner workings of your Google rankings, which is what we've been focused on through our content marketing sort of strategy. And So in the Implementer platform, you have ways there to try and build your ranking, and one of those is domain authority and getting backlinks. I think that's sort of a bit of the holy grail of content marketing. How do you get backlinks from? And what that is another website out there linking to your article or to your website. So I've written a couple of articles for other blogging businesses, and I've got a couple of links through that. But I look at some of the competitors, which I can see in the Implementer platform, where I can sort of see my own website stuff, as well as a couple of competitors, and they've got a lot more backlinks. So I'm like, how do I do that? And I think you can actually, in the Implementer platform, you can see your own backlinks, some of which are from weird websites but carry value, and then I think you can see the competitors' backlinks, and so you can see sort of what they're doing. So still don't have a lot of backlinks, but just in having Bianca, who does a lot of your web development work for your clients, just in having her revise our website, bumped our authority from 9 to 16, and the top is 100. So I thought, well, geez, how are we ever going to get up there? I mean, we're at 9, we're at the bottom, we're blogging our heart out. What more can we do? We're on page 1 of Google. And so anyway, surprisingly, being at 16 has been a real bump.
And keep in mind, 100 is for sites like Google,
Facebook, yeah,
and Microsoft.com, etc. Yeah. A small business will never get to 100. Turns out that's fine, because now, we're looking at some of our keyword rankings, but now for liquidation or liquidators, a very common broad keyword that everyone would like to rank well for. I looked the other day. Now it's probably, I don't know, maybe a month, 2 months since we've implemented the new website, and the number 1 ranking after the ads, and we're in the map, so we're below the ads. We're in the map because we've got 5 reviews on our Google My Business page, which is, again, Implementer told us to that. I sound like I'm sipping the Paradox Kool-Aid a little bit. Sorry, everyone. But the green Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I haven't. So we're in the map section, so people can see, and there's 5 stars light up from our reviews that I got people to do. So, that's where you want to be on Google, just below the ads, fine. And then Telstra, I think Yellow Pages has the top listing for liquidators. Pearson His is there at number 2, and then ASIC is below that. So I thought, well, with a domain authority of 16, and we're ranking better than ASIC for, one of the most common terms that we'd like to rank for. You can't get much better than that.
I predict you'll get above Yellow Pages because of your publishing of frequent specific content. But a couple of take-homes from everyone there. We're talking here about presence, and Jarvis, you mentioned getting 5 Google reviews. That's one of a number of things that you need to do to have a commanding digital presence, is to get those Google reviews to appear in the map section. That is the official name. They change it from time to time, but Google Places. So at the top, if you're in the Google Places listing just under the map there, wow, that is a huge win if you're not there for your target phrases. Now, at the moment, what we've got on screen here is a screenshot out of one of 10 reports in our Implementer platform. And on the left, we've blurred them out to protect Jarvis's basically strategy of the keywords that they're targeting. You can enter, with our guidance, up to 30 phrases that you want to track your Google rankings for. And you can enter up to 3 competitors, which is very interesting to look at. And if you're using an SEO specialist team, and SEO, the search engine optimization, which is one of our services, they can build strategic backlinks from business directories and other sites in an ethical way that really builds up the backlinks there. But looking down here, to explain to everyone, anything that's blue means you're the top 3 in Google. Anything that's green is your top 15, and then it goes down from there. So over time, what you'll be seeing, Jarvis, we're doing our job right, is more and more of the blue rows. And everyone, you want to be in the top 3 because they get 80% of the clicks. People used to say, you've got to be page 1 of Google. I think Google serves up such good search results that people don't really even need to go to the bottom of page 1 to find what they're looking for. So top 3 is where it's at.
I think it's worth just quickly noting some of them, they've actually gone the other way. There's one at the bottom there. I don't know what that was. It says we used to be 2 and we're higher. Why that is it was probably around insolvency accountants or some terminology, because we always thought, well, we're insolvency accountants. That's what people will be looking for. But it goes into, I guess, one of my sort of tips about content writing is that what you think people are searching you for, or the terminology that you think, it's just day in, day out to you, that your clients or your prospective clients might not actually use that terminology. They might not, when I say what insolvency is, people say, oh, consultancy, or they just don't really know what I do. So I guess what we've done is we've changed our language a little bit to really target what people are searching for online.
It's a great point, because people will search on using their words and their thoughts. And increasingly today, this is a new thing in SEO, is people are using tools like Siri and Google Voice, etc., where they talk their searches. They'll say, hey, Siri, or, or hey, Google, whatever. Okay, Google. Oh, my Siri just activated when I said that. Then they'll just say a phrase. So therefore, you need to use more natural language phrases now in your SEO as well, which are longer. At Masterclass and in ImpleMENTOR, one of the things we teach everyone is don't go for the obvious broad phrases of accountant, Sydney, or whatever is the most broad phrase, because everyone's trying for that. You go for more specific phrases where your target markets are searching on answers to their problems pretty much. They're looking for help. And that's what works, because that allows you to fly beneath the radar. Everyone else is competing in the bloodied waters of competition in the head. And if you compete in the long tail, where there's fewer searches, but still a lot of them, but it's easier to rank number 1. I think you mentioned, Jarvis, when we do a blog post for you, it's not uncommon for the target phrase that's targeting that article to be number 1 like a couple of weeks later.
A couple of days later, actually. I don't know. I thought it took weeks for Google to sort of see new pages. Christina from your office emailed us today that the last article, a grad wrote, it's on page 1 of Google. So he got a bit of a confidence boost there, because he's famous on Google. And I thought just extending on from that around those longer tail phrases, which all we do is, you talk about various ways to find out. All we do is type in the topic or the thing we want to look at, whether it be bankruptcy, into Google, maybe in a Google incognito window, so it's a bit more generic, and see what pops up. And out of those 5 things, we think, oh, okay, well, bankruptcy, pros and cons, or bankruptcy versus debt agreement. That's our phrase. That, very simple to choose what the phrase is, and that is potentially the topic of your article. And then lo and behold, Google says, oh, that's good. We understand that. Here you are at number 1. But I guess extending from that, like I was just saying, for liquidators and liquidation, those short terms we now rank for them, even though we don't write for them. So the article that ranks on page 1 of Google for Cactus Consulting for liquidation it's a part-time mum in our office, with all respect. I got her to write the article because she needed something to do, and it ranks better than all my sort of technical, here's a great idea, people are going to love this articles. She writes an article that's the difference between liquidation, insolvency, and bankruptcy, something I think is a bit throwaway. And lo and behold, that's what people are finding us on. So,
brilliant. And that's a classic example of a question that your target buyer personas have. What is the difference between this and that? So that's a great little example there. So in terms of moving on now to the publish part of things, where it's all about educating and engaging your target market. Some of the big mistakes we see that accounting and advisory firms make is writing technical articles that really seem to be designed to impress their peers rather than educate their prospects, and writing about things that are very core to the business, about tax aspects and bookkeeping and compliance related. But if they're written in technical jargon, no one's going to read them anyway. And a lot of the cookie cutter off the shelf newsletter article services that accounting firms provide to, subscribe to, they're all boring. They're all to the target market. They're technical and dry. So your focus now has shifted to, what can we teach people?
That's right. I mean, I guess this publish stage is really where we focused our energy, and then naturally you create traffic that creates the next problem in, publish. Naturally, it flows into the attract step, which I think comes next, and it kind of cascades. You create, once you've got one step working, then you create a problem in the next step, and that's, I guess, how we have developed our strategy and our model. Just on that point about publish and writing, anyone that's not doing it, just get started. I guess that's my number one tip. Don't worry about what your website looks like. Don't worry about how it sounds. There's a torrent of content out there, and with my first articles, maybe for the first few months, I'm really stressing over trying to nail this amazing article, and then you share it, and a couple of people look at it on LinkedIn, and it's gone. It's somewhere in the internet, never to be seen again. So, just a couple of tips that I'm not sort of a professional, so they're just from my own experience, but they are write articles that solve problems, which rather than just telling people what your service is and what you do, because it's often quite simple. It's just either thinking about it from the client, what are the circumstances that give them rise to need that, and just thinking about that next step in the discussion or the discussions that you do have when you're talking about that service. And I essentially leave the language about explaining the service and talk about what it is how that helps the client. And it seems quite difficult at first, but then it becomes very natural. And to see your website as a tool to help build existing and potential clients, not just a space to wow people. It's just a platform. It's your space on the web. It's your car park to bring people. I guess what you want to do is you just want to get people there, and then you can work out what to do to get them to you, because really that's what you want. You want to have that interaction with them, which is the value. Don't be precious about your content. Like I mentioned, as you said, the biggest hurdle to overcome is that as professionals, we write for other professionals. We think about what our peers will think rather than what our clients will think, which, tying into my point before, that the language our clients understand and use is a lot different to what we think it is because of our years of experience and talking to other accountants and professionals. Clear out all the ideas you have. If you're trying to get started, just clear out those ideas, because then the new ones will emerge. And once you write regularly, like I actually love it now, and I might be jogging or walking along or on the bus, and I'll go, oh, that's a great idea. Or I'll have a conversation with someone and go, with an accountant, and I'll think, well, that's a question and a discussion I have with a lot of accountants or a lot of clients. And so I write an article. So when we have the discussion, I go, look, we talked about that. Here's an article, just so you can go over it again, because it's a lot to take in. I mean, I did that on the weekend. Someone got in touch with me through live chat, worried about losing their home in bankruptcy. And I said, well, look, you can actually retain it. I'll email you my article and you can just have another look at it, because there's a bit to work through. And then let's have a chat about it. So they're kind of warmed up and they kind of understand it. They feel a bit more confident having the discussion and understanding, what we're saying. Write articles for both specific problems and the common search terms. I guess, like I said, that liquidators versus and that liquidation article, our best traffic generator is potentially a throwaway article. I mean, I know you mentioned Odium Group, who wrote an article about property and super or something, and that one article generated for them. So we have that liquidators article, and then my specific article that does well is probably on mining properties that are now worth less than their mortgages, something that we've helped people with, and no one else has really written about it. But there are a lot of news articles about it, and I've shared the link a couple of times online, and then I've seen through ImpleMENTOR that people have shared it under news articles as well. And so it's just sort of creating its own life. I'll be quick here. Sorry, I know we're probably running out of time. Consistent writing gets you to page 1 of Google, which is sort of surprising, but it's working for us. And content marketing, it's sort of the domain of smaller business. I wondered why the PwCs and the BDOs and the big firms, why they aren't dominating it. And my theory is, well, they have a marketing team who can't write as well as us as professionals because we're having the discussions. But all the professionals, they're not rewarded, or they don't have KPIs around writing content, and they can't have the online leads can't be attributed to what they've done. So for us, we can see that the work we put in flows back to work that we generate. So small businesses can really, I think content marketing is really our domain, and we can really get value out of it.
That's a great point, because people don't want to read promotional content anyway. And as advisors, you've got so many cool strategies and ideas and tips running around inside your heads that if they're articulated well in a way that your target audience understands, it's great. It adds value. And you'll be helping your existing clients as well with this style of article. Now, under that icon in the top right there, we've got targeted traffic, because not all traffic is born equal. So, even if you are number one for really broad search like accountant Melbourne or liquidation Sydney or something like that, it can often attract price-sensitive generic shoppers, whereas the more specific phrases just work better. So we ask people when they come to us, they might say, "Oh, I've been spending all this money on SEO, and we're paying $1,000 a month." And then we say, "What keywords are you targeting?" And they say, "Oh, I don't really know." So we'll get the most recent report from your SEO guys, and the phrases that they're targeting is so unstrategic. It's like their own brand name. Woohoo! Woohoo! You're ranking number one for your own in brand name. It's valueless, if there's such a word. So those phrases that are the connection between who you're trying to help, what are their problems, that's where the money is in terms of valuable traffic. And you can look at in Implementer, phrase by phrase by phrase by phrase, where are we ranking, how are our competitors ranking, and are we improving? So, data with this modern style of marketing really is your friend. Moving on now to convert. So even if your website is getting thousands of visits a month, which by the way, it should be, if your website is only getting hundreds of visits a month, we need to talk, speaking to everyone generally. So the purpose of it though, is to convert those website visitors to people that might subscribe to your e-newsletter, or, engage, like we said earlier, on live chat. Or, you at the end of your articles, you can have a subtle call to action about doing some sort of diagnostic, or a quiz, or downloading a white paper that really is perfectly targeted to what they're about, and the checklists and ebooks. So let's have a look, Jarvis. Some of the things that you've been testing is an insolvency checklist, which is an interactive quiz online, and you and I just last week talked about ways of improving its completion rate and its own conversion as well. So that's one tool. You also, when people go to your site, across the top, you're using a tool called Sumo Me, that when people click that button, it brings up the opt-in form. And then that is allowing you to also segment those leads, because they're answering whether they're an advisor or not. That one's targeting the building and construction industry in Queensland, so it's very specific.
Yeah, then, sorry, just on that point, so that just ties into one of your things about writing niche content. And so I guess there's 5 areas that are common insolvency areas: building, hospitality, labour hire, transport, and retail. And so we spent some time writing content for the building and construction industry last year, which was going through a bit of a tough time.
Yeah, perfect. So firms out there shouldn't have a generic downloadable lead magnet on their site for the company as a whole. Once you've identified individual specific target markets, you can do variations of the theme targeting with the keywords that are used, those different target markets, and that works infinitely better. But then the purpose then of having the conversion is so that you can nurture those contacts. So that starts with implementing marketing automation so that no human beings have to remember to follow them up and send them maybe some more timely information. So we've guided you, Jarvis, on implementing one of the 2 platforms we recommend. One's Infusionsoft, one's ActiveCampaign. You guys are using ActiveCampaign so that when people download lead magnets, such as that one that we just saw, it sets off a chain of events based on who they are. Do you want to just talk us through what people are seeing on screen right now, just generally speaking?
Sure. No, that's fine. So I guess as we mentioned, we have people coming to us that are potential direct clients, and then advisors who we're looking to build a relationship with and provide useful content for accountants out there who have a lot of tradies and subbies and builders as clients. This ebook helping those people avoid insolvency is really to generate discussions between you and your client and help guide some things about more they can do. So with all those people coming in, we need to we wanted to not just give them the ebook and say, okay, thanks, never hear from you again. Try and, I guess, again, coming back to that gradient, just build that relationship a little bit to perhaps, hey, let's catch up face to face if we haven't met before. So this automation campaign, which looks very simple, and when you click in each of those, I mean, some of them are just an email, text, some of them add a tag into the CRM so we know that person got an ebook, or it adds the people to the CRM to build that list, that database. And then it lets us know, I guess, who's downloaded it. And we can even set it up with reminders. Say, hey, get in touch with that person. They download your ebook. They got a couple of emails from you after doing so, and it's been a week now since they did that. Here's their contact details. So it seemed, 6 months ago, that all seemed far ahead in the future for us. But I mean, Active Campaign, I made it quite a simple process. And so I guess, again, it's that don't think about it, just do it. And
you'll be able to have, now that you've built this one campaign, you'll be able to have different flavors and variations of this for some of those different sectors, like hospitality, etc., where basically just the content needs to be tweaked. One way I explain automation, marketing automation to people is, imagine you had this gun sales team that looked through your website traffic and your CRM of contacts and went, they look like they're interested in such and such. I might send them a useful article, and this might be 2 days later, a week later. And it's just well thought through to send timely, relevant information to the right people. And it works because people buy after, they say, between 5 and 9, let's call it 7 touches or interactions with a brand on average. So you can automate those touch points on the front end of the conveyor belt so that your staff, you not having to do it, work 7 days a week while you sleep, which is an exciting thing to implement in business. But the point of the automation is so that you can nurture them. So, you can make sure that you're sending the educational content out through emails and your e-newsletters, out in social media, always having that focus of help and educate, because then people will pay advisors for the implementation there. And it just creates that dialogue. So you're nurturing primarily your referral partners, aren't you, Jarvis?
That's right. People, our clients, they're making a purchase, they're making a decision, and they either become one of our clients or they go to someone else. But with those referral partners, we want those to be long, sort of trusted advisor relationships, so that an accountant says, I know what I know, and it isn't this insolvency section. Let's call Jarvis because he deals with difficult ATO debts or SGC outstanding or whatever issue.
Exactly. And, everyone talks about the trusted advisor mantle, which is brilliant. It's a wonderful thing for the accounting profession at large, internationally, to be recognized as people's trusted advisors around their financial lives. But people buy from those they don't just trust. They've got to feel like they know you. They've got to like you. So the psychology of nurture is familiarity. The more contact you have with someone, the more familiar you become to them. And familiarity is a subset of liking, which, if you read Robert Cialdini's book called Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion, it's fascinating that there's actual logic and reason to what leads someone to like someone. And that's just part of it. So it's really important to nurture your list and not be selling to them. But at some point, 1 out of every 5 or 6 messages can be asking them something a bit more commercial. Like I have the phrase, ask them to either book or buy. So book a ticket to come to an event or a place at a webinar or come to a consultation, or maybe, depending on what the advisory business is providing, there might be some sort of entry-level diagnostic that you can actually sell. So Jarvis, what's Pearson Here's doing in this step of your marketing?
Right, sure. So we've always done in-house training sessions for accountants just to demystify the ATO debt recovery process, or let people know liquidation's not the only answer. And then last year we started doing that more as a seminar in a geographic location, and inviting people in North Brisbane, South Brisbane, etc. So, this is still probably an area that we could build on. I'd like to do some webinars, and we haven't quite got there yet, but I think, certainly the training sessions we do, there's no reason that they couldn't be webinars, because everyone else out there would be, it's relevant content.
Yeah. If you're doing live events, it's not that difficult to leverage that out in the webinars. Some firms of ours, some you mentioned earlier, are doing, because they're targeting mum and dad investors, they're doing webinars at just after dinner time. They're getting 50, 60 people along to them without leaving their desk. I think in anyone's book, that's time and cost efficient lead gen. Now, everyone, we're going for 5 more minutes. So after invite, because this invite stage energizes the leads. Like if all you ever did was email someone, it's not as much of a human to human connection. So when people come to events that are either live online like this or physical, it just encourages people to take action, because they've come this far, they understand the principles, you've educated them to take action, and you just are at the point now where you've got to invite them to dance, so to speak. And if you don't take this step, you'll not dance very often. So all of that increases the reputation and authority of the firm. So in a moment, we're just going to recap some results and give everyone some next steps they can take. But we've gone through today strategy through to invite. We also advise around sales process and onboarding, which we see as part of your marketing. It's like the capstone to make sure that there's integrity and congruity between the messages in your marketing, your content, your articles, the conversations in the sales process, and what they experience when they first become a client. But those end goals of grow a big and targeted database and nurture it with automation and great content builds a very specific client base over time. And the results are pretty much inevitable. They're not overnight, but they're inevitable, because every single step along here is pragmatic and measurable. So for you, Jarvis, and the team at Pearson, here's some of the things that you've been achieving and what you're going to do from here. We've talked about a lot of these today, the fact that you're promoting the articles, that generating targeted leads, your rankings gone up, you're focusing on helping, not selling, you're getting more leads and referrals. But let's talk about what your focus is going to be moving forward that you shared with us.
Sure. So, yeah, the rankings are working. We're getting the content. I think it's really, like I said, it's along the top line. Each step you build, and then you move on to the next one to try and improve that, because that becomes the bottleneck or the area that you need to boost. And certainly along the top line, we've sort of got that working reasonably well. And the bottom line of that marketing machine model is what we'll focus on more this year to convert that traffic and into work. So we track our rankings on Google. Yep, that's just working. I'm looking to do a bit of video to maybe, I guess there's only so much reading you think people want to do. You can write content. So just to mix it up a little bit. And I think that Google loves video. So I'll just see how that goes. I think this year it seems to be there's a lot of people in the same boat as me that are, want to get into video, just overcome that hurdle. I think it's probably like writing content. You just got to do it. I hate seeing myself on video. I've been watching myself a lot, cringing. So you've just got to do it, I guess. You'll take to that like a duck to water. And by the way, everyone, blogging, producing video, whatever form of content, you've just got to surround yourself with the right process and workflow and tools and people. And then, earlier, Jarvis, you said you're finding creating articles now kind of easy. There's a flow to it, which there wasn't at the start. Yeah. You will achieve the same with the video. Speaking to members now, this is a public webinar today to members and non-members of Paradox. There's a long thread in the Facebook group for ImpleMENTOR listing out different cameras and tripods and microphones and software that you can use to create content cost effectively and quickly. And you'll be able to do it at the drop of a hat within a couple of months, I reckon, Jarvis. Yeah, sure. So just, moving into that, the training sessions and webinars, that's what we'd like to do more of this year. So yeah, I mean, in terms of the machine, that's where we're at. We're still learning. Everyone, I think, is at a different stage of that, and they might have gone through all 10 steps, and they might be going back around or refining it. The thing is, you don't have to start anywhere in particular in either of those 10 steps. You can really dive in where you think you'll generate the best value, because we're all time poor and you want to see results for your efforts. So
yeah,
that's what we've done. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but it seems to be working. So
and the quote from the yoga guru earlier was around, it's 90%, was it implementation or action?
99% practice, 1% theory. So
yeah, exactly. And people can sometimes, get paralysis by analysis in different areas of their life, particularly in business. And one of my favorite sayings is, you can't steer a parked car. So you can sit and think about blogging and think about doing events and think about having a proper website for months, but you've just got to publish, because then you get results. And then the next month you can publish again and refine and refine. And it really is a matter of just publishing on a monthly cadence, having a set number of things that the firm agrees to do. And that's our focus at Paradox, is just to make sure every month, whether it's 1 or 2 articles, like you guys have been doing 2 articles, sometimes you adjust
we're a few articles behind. It is in waves, and I've started to involve my junior staff, and it is really good for junior staff because they don't think as technically necessarily, with respect to them, but they can write a little bit more at that client level, which it just overcomes that writing for professionals hurdle, and they get a real confidence boost when they've written something. It's out there, and so I mean, my grad, who's 21 or 22, he's doing what it's taken me 15 years to learn and to get to doing. So
there you go.
Feel a little bit nervous that.
And, if you guys, which you're doing, getting the ideas out of your head, and by the time it goes through a workflow on our end of the copywriters who polish it and SEO it for the target phrases, well, that's just teamwork, isn't it? Anything that's achieved well in business is a matter of teamwork in general.
So gets everyone thinking about marketing in the firm.
Yeah, exactly. Brilliant. So it's not all just on your shoulders. It's a collaborative effort. Now, I'd like everyone now to just take time to let us know what you'd like to do after this webinar. We've had people from all sides of the globe today attend live, and we just want to know, do you want to talk? Because to know and not to do is not to know, as the old Chinese proverb goes. And if the timing is right for you and you tick the first option of, I'm not yet a Paradox member, please contact me to discuss. Here's what happens. We have a chat over the phone or over the web, just to have an initial chat to see if there's a fit. If we both agree there's a fit, we invite you to do a marketing gap analysis. Now, in that marketing gap analysis are questions that enable us to see your level of clarity and your level of effectiveness and efficiency in resourcing your marketing. And in there, by the way, is one question. How clear are you on your marketing strategy? There's a few options. And then the next one is, describe your strategy in 1 sentence. And we analyzed hundreds of firms that have been through this process, and 1 in 25 accounting firms have actually stated a proper strategy in there. They've all stated objectives, not strategies. So you'll get a lot of value out of the marketing gap analysis alone. And then we have the web meeting where we'll share with you the insights that we've gleaned from your marketing gap analysis and step you through on screen the implementer platform that we've mentioned today, that Pearson Hears are using to give you that structure and those reports, and explain the other services where we can help you create and produce great content on an ongoing basis. So I'll just leave that live for now. And I'm conscious we've gone over time. So we'll
sorry.
No, it's not at all. Oh, no, brilliant. I've really enjoyed today's chat, Jarvis. Thank you so much again for sharing. We love seeing what you guys are doing, because you're implementing, and that's what it's all about, not the theory. So if anyone wants to connect with Pearson Hears, let me just give you some options. You can go to their blog, pearcehears.com.au/blog. On their homepage down the bottom, you can subscribe to the Pearson Hears email newsletter, where you'll receive their educational articles on a regular basis. And also, just look up Jarvis in LinkedIn and connect. And also look up Pearson Hears as a company in LinkedIn as well, and just follow them, and you'll learn from osmosis about how they're doing their marketing, and the content itself are things that you can share with your clients to educate them. I noticed, Jarvis, you've got over 1,700 followers in LinkedIn, which is no small effort. And the fact that every time you put something on your blog, we also put it out on LinkedIn and promote it there. So you're developing your presence well beyond your website. Out there in digital.
Yeah, big on LinkedIn.
So thanks so much again, everyone, for joining us from around the globe. Thank you, Jarvis, for setting aside time today and in the prep. And look forward to seeing Pearson Hears and Cactus Consulting keep smashing it out of the park and building that marketing machine.
Thanks, MC.
Cheers, Jarvis. Bye for now.
Catch you.
Cheers, everyone.